All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Jimmy McArthur from the Open Infra Foundation. We only have 25 minutes, so I'm going to try to talk fast and be quick here. Let's do quick introductions. Kevin?
Yeah, quick, I never do quick, hold on. I'm Kevin Jackson, Senior Director of Product at Trilio.
Hi, I'm Mohammed, CEO at Vexhost.
Maciej Lecki, I'm a Senior Solutions Architect with Red Hat.
I'm DJ and the CEO and the founder of G-Converter.
And you'll notice we're all sitting under our names. So if you get confused, thanks, Helena. Okay, so all of these folks have some kind of migration tool. They're all excellent, allegedly, but to sort this out, we're gonna have a foot race outside after this. That's not true, really. Sorry, I think everybody was supposed to laugh at that. No, so what I want to talk about is we're like a year on from this Broadcom VMware debacle. And I kind of like to know from your unique perspective, because each of you have kind of a different type of company and offer a different set of services. I'd like to know sort of what you see right now, and then maybe a little bit later we'll get into what the next few years looks like. Kevin?
Okay, yep, I'm first. So yeah, so Trilio does cloud native data protection. So we're basically an OpenStack service. So for everybody in the room, backward recovery for Trilio, have been like that for ages. So if you think about what backward recovery is, and then apply that to the world of VMware migrations, basically we do point in time reorchestration. So we're doing essentially backup from VMware and then being able to recover them to OpenStack. So that's the background of what we do. What we're currently seeing is we're certainly seeing a lot of people in two phases. Hell of a lot of planning phases currently, and the ones that are executing. I have a lot of thoughts. I'm hoping you've got questions around like how your best practices and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we're seeing people who are actually actively migrating thousands of virtual machines into OpenStack.
Mohammed?
Yeah, on our side, with Vexhost, we're more of a like software / managed services where we actually provide, a cloud solution, which is Atmosphere, as well as either like the managed services where professional managed services where we run these clouds for our customers, and essentially out of necessity of our customers saying, hey, we need a way to migrate to VMware, and the tooling that we thought just didn't really hit the spot that made sense for our customers. We built Migrate Kit, and the idea was that it would leverage 100% open source tooling. So it leverages virtv2v, it leverages libnbd, it leverages NBD Kit, which are all open source components. And really what we've done is just a combination of matching all those together in order to allow customers to move their VMs from one side to another. So ultimately, we're more of here's a tool to get your VM out of VMware into OpenStack. And yeah, we're seeing that like in a lot of different places with a lot of different users that are trying to really do that and already, in effect doing that. And what's cool is being an open source project, we get to know that these are happening without us knowing. So recently we had somebody create an issue and they were like, I migrated 300 VMs with no problems, and I've run into this small issue, and they contribute pull requests. So it's more of a community project with the hope of making the ecosystem larger at the end of the day.
So at Red Hat, and this is me speaking, I actually have done POCs where we build stacks parallel and just rebuild stuff. And that is the situation that we're in 12 months ago, right? That is where we ended up after VMware got acquired by Broadcom. Now, the landscape is changing. We have some great partners like Trilio, like Vexhost, and G-Converter as well. I'm going to be doing a talk tomorrow on virtv2v, something that Mohammed just mentioned. That's an open source project. I've used that to aid in migrations from VMware. Completely free out there. You can just download it from GitHub, compile and migrate your VMs from VMware to OpenStack.
Z-Converter is a cloud migrations, cloud backup, and cloud serverless disaster recovery software company. We focus on the simplifying migration process across heterogeneous platforms, different hypervisors, and the different disk format. And we developed a GR technology, a cloud agnostic migration technology that eliminate heterogeneous problems. We think most migration problems are generated from a heterogeneity between the productions and the target cloud platform, or between the VMware and OpenStack. And if enterprises utilizing our GR technology, and the enterprise organizations that simplify their migration process to OpenStack. And also we focus on migration drill. Enterprises cannot move to the OpenStack without ensuring it. I think a migration drill is very, very important, especially for enterprises. And leveraging the migration drill, organizations allow users to test migrated workload services in OpenStack in advance. And if they cannot prepare OpenStack environment in advance, they can use OpenStack-based public cloud services for their DR drill, such as the Vexhost or the Rackspace. And also developed their automated migration script, and also estimate migration times accurately. And actually, utilizing this automated migration script, enterprises can accelerate and ensure that their VMware to OpenStack migration project. We already have many inbound inquiry, and also we are backed by Samsung, and many conglomerate companies signed with multiple years Broadcom services of VMware, but they are preparing a VMware exit plan, but not right now. Maybe the project will start from next year.
Yeah, that actually kind of brings me to my next question, which I know that a lot of enterprise companies specifically have been able to leverage a renewal at the last minute, basically before Broadcom took over. So they've got 3 years to play around with. A lot of small to medium-sized businesses, I think to your point earlier, Kevin, don't have that luxury and are kind of panicking. What's the best advice you would give to companies right now that are trying to figure this out and trying to figure out what their next move is?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, whilst VMware and OpenStack are two different platforms, at the end of the day, this is all about the run of the services from one platform to another. I think they have to recognize that there is a bit of a skill gap, and there's a lot of skills that are interchangeable. So to make people feel better, moving from VMware to OpenStack, I'm pretty sure if people were around 14 years ago, that's what people were doing. It was VMware to OpenStack. People were running lots of VMware shops, and they were exploring things like Eucalyptus, Cloud Stack, and then the new puppy on the block, which was OpenStack. So people do have transferable skills. So I don't think people should panic. One of the things which may help those people who are in those final throes of financial worry and stuff is moving over to OpenStack is very pain-free. It takes a little bit of knowledge, but if you've got 15 years, 20 years worth of VMware skills, again, very transferable into the OpenStack world. Do the low-hanging fruit, do all the things you're meant to do of checking, understanding what you've got in your environment, so you know what you're going to get in the new environment. Attend all these sort of sessions, these things that we have in the community, and I'm pretty sure you'll have a pretty decent ride.
Awesome. So I've been told we only have 10 minutes left all of a sudden. So
Sorry.
time, oh, 20 minutes. That's so much better. See, I have my reading glasses on, not my, anyway, this is a problem I have. Okay, all right. Well then, Mohammed, I'll let you.
Yeah, so usually what I kind of like recommend in this sort of scenario is to try and, if you need to squeeze a renewal, you might just have to do it anyways. But it's always best to maybe aim for a year, and that's what we see a lot of customers end up doing, which is buying a year of time to be able to move on and move out of this. And a lot of times I find that people say, okay, well, in a year I need to get an OpenStack cloud up and running, and I need to migrate everything and all of that. And to that, I answer is like, at the end of the day, there's many providers out there that have a lot of deep expertise in running OpenStack for you. So, obviously, like, we could be one of them, but there's many other ones. Like
Check the OpenStack marketplace.
So, I'm trying to be as fair to everyone at the end of the day as you can find that expertise to find like a partner that can speed up the process of getting a cloud up and running. And once you've got that cloud up and running, which is not a long process, then it's just a matter of moving those workloads over. And you can start a transition period where, your team slowly gets more comfortable with what OpenStack is, but it kind of accelerates that move out of it, and will definitely end up costing less than having a longer term renewal at the end of the day. And ultimately, what's usually nice is, if you still treat OpenStack like not a self-service, but just like a virtualization environment, your users are not really going to know. They're going to see their VM got shut down and it started back up and things are still working the way they are. So it's more just kind of on the operational aspect that you have to worry about, of how to deal with this cloud and everything. And like I said, that's something that can easily be solved. I also think that this is a good time to call out that people, I don't want to say laughed at us when we said, being an open ecosystem is important and vendor neutral is important, but now it's really proving like, hey, you see what can happen. And so I kind of want to call out like, yeah, but some people say, hey, we could move to the public cloud to get out of this VMware thing. And what says that Amazon doesn't do the same thing in a couple of years, right? Or Azure or any of those other large public providers. So at the end of the day, when you're working with a vendor neutral, environment such as OpenStack, you're making sure you're securing yourself into an ecosystem. So even if there's a bit of an investment to do to get into it, you kind of have your future in your hands, and you can do whatever you want to do.
Maciej?
So 12 months ago, we didn't have all these open source and free tools for migration. Now that there is a lot of alternatives, look out to the community for support, right? Look out for Red Hat. Red Hat actually has an upcoming project resurrecting OS Migrate. Some of you might be aware what OS Migrate does. It's going to be a combo of Virt2v and OS Migrate for migrating between OpenStack clouds. Look at the community landscape. You're no longer in a situation where there's no solutions. There's many of them, right? So look at the alternatives. Don't panic. Plan carefully. The migration is actually, it can be quite complex, right? I mean, simple migrations are the best, but sometimes you're dealing with particular types of pass-through devices, maybe RDMA types of storage, right? Those might be not as complex. So take some time, plan it out, look out at the community landscape, and then see what tools are available to plan that migration. You have to migrate the hypervisor. You're changing the hypervisor. You have to migrate the storage, and you have to migrate the networking. Those three pieces are the fundamental building blocks of your virtual machine infrastructure, and plan those carefully.
And for the SMB, the customers, the VMware, the migration project, I think if they have like internal, like OpenStack engineered resources, and also they have enough budget. In this case, they can select like a OpenStack-based private cloud. However, if they don't have such a resources or budget, I think like OpenStack-based public cloud services could be answer or solutions. And actually, as long as I know, enterprise customers that have like a good like a VMware or open source OpenStack resources. However, most SME customers don't have such resources in their company. And I believe if such as the SME customer, they decided to use like a public cloud services, OpenStack based, actually they can use like a virtual private cloud services. I believe Baxhost will serve such a VPC services that is like a semi like on-premises private cloud services. And actually, I think we need to think about train the OpenStack engineer much more. Yeah, actually, the like Maciej, right? Sorry, Maciej, sorry. Maciej already mentions that, and 12 months ago, there's no the open source migration tool, but the customers still mostly don't have open source engineer and in their company. We need to resolve to expand the OpenStack, the solutions.
I know a lot of companies are offering, along with their migration services, also training to retrain those VMware employees on new things. But I know I'm still worried about time, but I want to pivot to something else for the moment, which is the next OpenStack release, Epoxy. The TC has identified VMware parity as a target for upstream development. So I want to ask all of you, what do you think is missing in your experience between VMware and OpenStack, and what should be the priority for the community?
Ooh, it's weird because I take a slightly, I don't know, antagonistic approach in the fact that like I like to see that VMware is an OpenStack. Now I appreciate that there's a world where you might think you need to have the parity between VMware and OpenStack. But I think that reminds me of a conversation back, again, going back 13 years ago, 12 years ago, where people were trying to have OpenStack compatibility with EC2. And the whole conversation was we shouldn't be doing that because you wanted to have your own kind of like destiny. So I strongly believe that, you don't have to have complete feature parity. Now, I reckon there is a load of things out there, like all the complex workloads will, I don't know, maybe require some kind of like level of compatibility. That's the area you need to look at. There's going to be if you use the 80-20 rule, 80% of the workloads, I reckon you can migrate with any of the tools that we'll mention on stage here. But I think the 20%, that's the area that you need to look at. And it's going to be those niche use cases, the large data sets, the way the databases are set up very specifically for VMware, that's the area that you would need to concentrate on.
Yeah, I think there's two main things that usually I hear from customers, and my answer is it's hard to tell you because it's there, but it's not really there. The first one is the functionalities where somebody else in the room probably knows what it's called, but VMware has the whole automatic live migration and redistribution of VMs across the fleet based on the load that systems are having. So OpenStack already has a project that allows to do this, but it just hasn't been well maintained. So somebody actually needs to just plug in the algorithms and the numbers to make it to do these live migrations automatically. That's one thing that a lot of people ask for, and it can be useful in any kind of cloud just to make better use of your resources. But in general, it's something that's really useful to be able to distribute your workloads, especially for those kind of more small, medium business sizes that want to make the best out of their infrastructure. The other thing is kind of a DR sort of infrastructure. Yes, we know that the idea when you're dealing with a cloud, you should be able to rebuild everything. But there's still these legacy workloads that live in VMware where people just go and buy a license of VSRM and just, say, hey, VMware is going to take care of all of this, DR process for me in their software. And so that piece is missing. And a lot of times for these very large organizations, it's hard to just say, yeah, just re-architect your software to tolerate this. These softwares have been running for a long time. And if you want to try and re-architect it, you're not going to be able to hit your migration timelines, and things are going to start to extend farther than they should be.
I'm just going to name it. It's DRS. It really is. And the project that Mohammed talked about, the water, right? This is really using the 80-20 rule, what I've heard the most. DRS for your compute, and then also DRS for storage, because VMware also has an implementation for it, for storage, for balancing out your data stores. That's what comes up most frequently in their conversations. Someone said that, doing like one-to-one feature comparisons, it's a different platform, right? It's doing those, it's like death by 1,000 cuts. So that goal, I didn't know that that's the theme for the next development cycle. That's a very noble goal. There's a lot to do there, but I would really put the emphasis on just the compute DRS and storage DRS. That would accelerate the adoption of OpenStack in migration scenarios by tenfold.
I introduced the Gconverter is migrations, backup, and disaster recovery software companies. And actually, I thought about the backup capability, like the third-party solutions provided combined with VMware. And as you know, the VMware provide like a backup related API. Very famous backup software company to backup VMware virtual machine. As now it's like if they are provided 100 backup features combined with VMware API, actually after migrating to like OpenStack, like 30 features or like up to 50 backup features might not be provided working in the KVM OpenStack side. And additionally, the Mohammed already mentions like VSR is very fantastic disaster recovery solution provided by the VMware. After migrating to KVM-based OpenStack, like partners or community members, users need to find the alternative over the DR. I think Gconverters might be the like alternative of backup and disaster recovery. Regarding the disaster recovery, we already talking about our partner in Indonesia. They want to replace existing VSR to OpenStack-based a solution combined with the Gconverter now.
All right, thank you. So, Mohammed, you touched on this a little bit earlier, but the all of the things that are going on with VMware, with WordPress right now, which is weird, and other open source software or single vendor open source software that have kind of pulled weird licensing changes. What kind of damage control can OpenStack do to show that its sort of broad ecosystem and broad support is a different thing? And how do we combat that messaging that's coming from a lot of folks saying open source is dead?
I think for that, it's a really good question, but I think we can kind of just let our history of what we've done so far speak for us. I think at the end of the day, when people look at OpenStack, at the end of the day, they'll see something that was sustainable. And so yes, there was struggles at times where there was not that much interest in it. And there was times where there was a lot of interest, and now there's times of renewed interest. It's important to kind of say, at the end of the day, you look at our record, you look at the way that we have our governance built, you look at the way that we have our, our infrastructure that's built out. It's there, and it's built in a way that's fully open, that it cannot be kind of tarnished in that way. And that goes into like the 4 opens, that goes into all of the things that we all have believed in and were part of for a long time. So I think when people have that aspect where they worry, at the end of the day, yes, we're not going to pretend like there hasn't been organizations that came into OpenStack and left OpenStack, and especially in the early days when it was a hotness, but there's still organizations to this day that are still around, and some showing up now, especially in the past few years in Europe, with the sovereignty and a lot of companies opening up there, and some being before when OpenStack was in its peak, and some still being around now this whole time. So I think at the end of the day, the thing you don't have to worry about is, regardless of when you pick OpenStack, there's going to be somebody there at the end of the day. And I think that's the most important thing to make people feel comfortable about making this choice and not worrying of having a VMware 2.0.
Like a VMware trust fall.
Pretty much.
So I think we're just about out of time. Does anybody else want to quickly speak to that? Yep. Okay.
I wanted to talk about what's already there that can build up more confidence in OpenStack. For example, the Slurp upgrade model, that inspires confidence, right? VMware is pretty easy to upgrade between 5, 6, 7, 8. We're taking some baby steps in the community, but the Slurp upgrade model is great. Another example for that is API backwards compatibility. You might have built a lot of tooling around the OpenStack API. What's going to give you a confidence that you go with that Slurp upgrade, that you don't have to completely rewrite your tooling? Nova has great backwards compatibility features. So I wanted to highlight that there's already a lot to build up that confidence and then ease that transition to OpenStack, but also invest more in that direction, right? Make those upgrades as seamless as possible. Just inspire confidence by doing that, and then the API backwards compatibility. Keep doing that, absolutely. Like that's what will win the hearts of the largest enterprises.
Any other thoughts?
I'll just add to that, because I agree with that. I think the ability to upgrade, roll back, and manage them, I think that's the, from again, it's not from the license point of view. I think, the operational aspect, I think, is a bit of a barrier. But even on the license front, I think the only thing that I can say is, I think there's generally still a little bit of confusion about all the different types of licenses. So if you're coming from a VMware world, which is pretty much like closed license, you kind of understand it. And then you've got this whole like rainbow of different types of free and open source. Unfortunately, we all know what the 4 opens are, but I can pretty much say that not everybody does.
Sure. Okay. I think we are out of time. I did want to say, if anybody is interested in joining the VMware working group, which we have, and we've recently put out a VMware migration white paper. You can find it on our website. I think it's openstack.org/VMware opportunity. Anyway, if you're interested, hit me up. My email address is not up there, but it's jimmy@openinfra.dev. All right, thanks.